Three kinds of politician: patrons, statesmen, fixers. One of the oldest cliches in politics is the distinction between the statesman and the patron. This might be understood as the distinction between intellect versus willpower in the realm of political leadership. Wikipedia offers a glimpse into the distinction in its list of philosophical trichotomies. For example, the philosopher Plato divided man into three parts: mind, soul and body. For Plato, these three parts of human life correspond to three distinct ideals. These respective ideals are truth, goodness and beauty. Philosophically, these ideals are the respective concerns of theory, practical ethics and aesthetics. Likewise, Plato divided the human soul into three parts: logic, spiritedness and appetite. The classic politician is a creature of spiritedness, willpower and ambition. He is a patron. Plato's ideal politician is a philosopher king. The philosopher king would be a ruler who is himself ruled by logic. He would be a statesman. Democracies might be less inclined to electing statesmen to office. Alexis de Tocqueville explained why democracies tend to be averse to having persons of talent in positions of political leadership. This is because democracy unleashes the ambitions of the ordinary person. The citizens of a democracy are more fired with personal ambition than are people in non-democracies because their path to success is more open. In a democracy, equality means moving up the social ladder to attain the same level of status as one's social superiors. Unfortunately, striving for upward mobility tends to end in disappointment. Even when success is achieved, it feels inadequate and ephemeral. Nothing fails like success, and so dissatisfaction is guaranteed. For these reasons, people in a democracy tend to look with jealous disapproval on those who are more talented and successful than themselves. They will not vote for the smart guy unless they really have to. Also, the very smartest people loathe politics and avoid it anyway. In a democracy, the best and brightest have the option to flee from political life. In contrast, in more traditional societies like those of Europe, educated elites are pressured into public service in order to maintain the social order. Tocqueville visited the US Congress in the early 19th century. He later wrote that in the US Senate one finds the noblest and wisest men, whereas the US House is populated by the least talented men. Tocqueville claims that the Senate contains excellent men because they were in his day selected not by the popular vote but by state legislatures. Not mentioned here is the observation that the populist house is identified with patronage because members are required to run for office every 2 years. Their constituents pay heed to federal funding. In contrast, the elitist Senate is linked with rational discussion and debate over the big picture issues of the day because their elections are less frequent and less contested. This affords senators the luxury of careful deliberation. There does seem to be a difference in character between the two chambers that reflects a dichotomy in what is meant by democracy. One is the ideal of public rational discourse on public decision-making. The other is the reality of patronage and the tyranny of the majority. But actual politicians are mixed in character. For example, the Presidents Abraham Lincoln and Theodore Roosevelt both manifested the populist image of the frontiersman, but their political agendas represented a repudiation of populism. There is a third kind of politician, the fixer. One might think here of the Chicago alderman who knows how to pull strings behind the scenes. This figure is not necessarily an elected official, but rather a political operative who works in the shadows. This role was highlighted in the 2012 movie Lincoln. Lincoln wanted to ban slavery just before the Civil War came to a close, so he mobilized fixers who would bribe congressmen with the promise of future federal jobs if they voted to abolish slavery. A contemporary image of a classic fixer is the TV character Ray Donovan. Donovan is a man with roots in East Coast organized crime who thrives in California as a law firm's operative solving the secret problems of the rich and famous. It would be strange to have a fixer as a congressman or governor, but it might happen now and then. Richard Nixon always seemed more like a shadowy fixer, tricky dick, than either a patron or an esteemed statesman. After his diplomatic engagement with China in order to counter the power of the Soviet Union, he later presented himself as a statesman. The fixer is a creature of appetites who completes the trichotomy.